I am sitting down with Chris, and he is the creative director with Obsidian Entertainment. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm dandy as candy. Thank you so much for asking.
Dandy as candy. Wow, that was amazing.
It's like I rhyme. Whee! So we're going to talk to you about Project Eternity. Would you mind terribly discussing that with us?
Project Eternity was Obsidian's Kickstarter. We wanted to do an isometric party-based role-playing game that was a lot like the old Baldur's Gate series and the Icewind Dale series and Planescape Torment, but we really couldn't find a publisher that was willing to back it. So we decided, hey, you know what? I wonder if the players would like to see a game like that, and they came back with a resounding positive show of support. So
according to the Kickstarter site, you have almost 74K backers.
Yes, that is a lot of support, and that totally surprised us. But we were really gratified to get that level of outpouring from the community.
Right? Were you expecting that?
No, actually. And here's where it kind of like went into two different schools of the studio. There was the pragmatists, which sometimes can be called the pessimists of the studio, like me, who are like, you know what, maybe people are just really tired of Kickstarter and they've already donated plenty to games already, and maybe they don't even want this kind of game anymore. And then there was Rob Nestler, our art director, who was, you guys have no idea how well this is going to do. And so after the first day, Rob Nestler came up and he was just like, you know what? I told you guys it'd be fantastic. So Rob, you were right. I freely admit it. You can rub it in whatever you want.
Ye of little faith. That'll teach you.
Absolutely.
And so you actually also exceeded your expectations with how much you thought you were going to get. Is that correct?
Yes. We exceeded our expectation almost 4 times our original funding amount, which also surprised us. Yeah, we had no idea that it actually hit that high either.
So what are you going to do with all that? It's going to go towards more development.
Yeah, basically we wanted to make sure that first off, it went to a series of dungeon levels for the endless paths of Old Noah is one of our sort of like continuous dungeons that we're doing for the game. Also, we wanted to make sure that we could use the extra resources to get more writers and narrative designers involved with the project, and also make sure that we could spend some extra funds just making sure the entire experience was polished, and just we get all the kinks out and make sure that the game comes out really smoothly.
So on that note, you're actually working on some story right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
We are actually approaching the story a little differently than we have in previous games. Usually, when we're working with publishers, we have pretty strict deadlines for exactly like when the story needs to be delivered in terms of the arc. What we're trying to make sure is that the story feels comfortable to everybody that's involved with it. So we're actually getting like almost all the narrative designers of the studio together, as well as any other developers interested in the story, and we're actually just hashing out in conference rooms, trading emails back and forth until we actually have a solid narrative arc that we're all happy with and we're all really excited about as a studio.
How exciting. So the fans of Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and those kind of games that you've done, the CRPGs, is there any crossover, do you think, with fans of those games, and do you think they'll be interested in Project Eternity?
Absolutely. It was actually one of our goals for the project. First off, we wanted to make sure that we were including the same types of sort of like really cool companions to join your party, like we're in Baldur's Gate. We also wanted the strength of storyline that was present in Torment and Baldur's Gate. And also, we were doing a series of games called Icewind Dale back at Black Isle, like way back when. And one of the cool things about Icewind Dale was that just about any sort of crazy dungeon idea you could think of, as long as the artist could actually paint out the dungeon, you could make it happen. So we wanted to make sure we're creating those kind of like cool dungeon areas for the players to explore in Eternity.
Nice. So has working on past titles like the Fallout games and the Icewind Dale and Planescape helped you personally with this project?
It's helped in a few ways. First off, from a production standpoint, it helps you know how much time it takes to get each of those tasks done, which helps you plan out the project really well. But the other thing that's actually more fun from a design standpoint is that it helps you see all the ways to sort of bring about reactivity in the environment and reactivity in the storyline, just from the choices the players make during all the way from character creation to choices they make during the game. We've had a lot of experience about doing that with various titles way back at Black Isle and also at Obsidian.
So the fan reaction and community feedback, how has that been? I know you were seeking input from the community, so have you gotten anything useful? Has there been a lot of feedback?
Yeah, actually, there's been a lot of dialogue concerning the systems in terms of things that people want to see from the storyline, class feedback, and sort of make sure we just try and take all that stuff into account when actually just doing the core design for the product. But overall, just the fact that we're actually able to have that dialogue with the fans in the first place has been really great right from square one, because usually you don't actually get to share any of that information on a normal product until like 6 months before release, which means that anything the community doesn't like or they don't respond well to, you don't have that much time to change it in a typical publisher model. With Kickstarter, you can usually know within a week or two of explaining the idea whether it's actually really resonating with people or not, and then you just take steps from there on as to whether you could just cut it and save everyone a lot of time and grief, or you can expand upon it and go, hey, people are really responding well to this particular aspect, why don't we build on this and make it more of a part of the game.
What a great tool for you guys.
It is pretty awesome.
Kind of genius.
I like sharing.
Yeah, sharing is
sharing is good.
Okay, so then let's talk about the game then. So 6 classes, 9, 10 races, excuse me, switch that. 6 races, 9 to 10 classes?
There are a lot of combinations.
Lots of
yeah,
combinations.
And actually one of our sort of narrative standards document is that we're trying to make sure that we're accommodating all of those races and classes in dialogue interactions. And for somebody who's writing companions, that's a lot of combinations to worry about. But it's one of the principles we're trying to hold to. So yeah, it's going to be a lot to juggle, but I think it's going to give a good variety for actually like setting up your party and setting up strategies. So I think that's going to be important.
Nice, so there's a lot of depth there.
Yep.
Awesome. So is there anything that you can tell us that you're excited to share, but you haven't really done so much?
I am really excited about the fact that, well, 2 things. One is the chance to do a brand new magic system for this world with the whole transference of souls between individuals when they pass on, what happens to the soul, how they get reintegrated back into an individual. I think that adds a lot of cool elements for how you approach the story.
Sure.
And it's added a lot of cool sort of gameplay mechanics. Like we actually have an entire class called the Ciphers that are solely devoted to actually manipulating that soul energy within people to various effects. So being able to do that from a game mechanic standpoint and narrative standpoint has been really, really cool.
So what do you think is your strongest portion of this development so far? Is it the character creation? Is it the storyline? And what's the most important to you?
A lot of the pre-production so far has focused on a few things. It's focused on what's the range of actions the player can do in the environment in terms of how they use their skills, how they engage in, with encounters. The other thing that's important to us is making sure that the storyline is being developed in a way that everyone is comfortable with the pacing and the themes that are being presented, and not really trying to force it or cut it off too early until we're all comfortable with it. So I think that's 2 things that kind of jump to mind.
Awesome. And do you have any idea of how you want this game to go? It comes out Q2 of...
Yeah, April 2014.
Yes. So do you have any high hopes for it? I mean, obviously you should.
I would simply be happy if once it gets into the backers' hands, if they just play it and have a really good time with the game. If it does well beyond that, I just can sort of consider that an icing on the cake. Sure. But ultimately, what I would love to do is see it go on to further titles and have like Project Eternity 2 and 3. And do things like, if we want to do like short stories for it or comics for it, like basically just continue to develop the world in ways that we've kind of always wanted to develop a fantasy world of our own. So
it's really story driven.
Yep.
Yeah, you can do a lot with story.
I like story.
Yeah, story's huge. Me gusta. And beta testing, is that something that you guys are looking at already, or alpha or anything along those lines?
I'm not sure what the plans are for that. I do know that we'd like to get players playing the game as early as possible and getting feedback on it from that standpoint, usually because that way a lot of ironing out of mechanics and like things like how the interface feels, all of that stuff. The earlier you get feedback on that from focus tests or from backer support just playing the game, both of those things can help you course correct at an early stage. So.
How far away are you from opening it up to alpha testing or anything?
That unfortunately I don't know, but I'm sure someone with a more producer mind bent might know.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for your time, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was an honor meeting you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, see ya.